Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Element Manipulator Cannon mod, which is being made by user Quad Rioters. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a very fun and kind of wacky new energy weapon, the Element Manipulator Cannon. And oh man, I've been having a whole lot of fun with this mod. So let's take a look at what you do get here in the Pip-Boy. And here we are, the standard Element Manipulator of Ice, which is the standard form of this weapon. And you may notice the similarities to the Cryolator, and that is because, well, it's kind of the Cryolator on steroids, frankly, but not just with ice. Thanks to the various modifications, you can change this thing to all sorts of different elemental damages, including love, if that's your thing. But in the standard form, doing ice damage, you will do 52 damage using Cryolator cells at a firing rate of 90, range of 71, accuracy of 52, and a weight of 13.2. And overall, it is a pretty beautiful looking weapon, reusing, of course, animations for the Cryolator, thus the ammo being down here for it. And all in all, a very nicely made weapon. And oh man, with the different mods for this, you can make some fun guns, such as the Energy Tempest, which actually does wind damage, and we'll talk more about that later. And then we have the Rider of the Timeless Domain, which is by far the most powerful you're able to make this thing, doing dark elemental damage. Or, of course, the Vortex Spring, which does acid damage. These are just some of them, and there's a lot more, and it's glorious. I love the names, especially the dark elemental damage one. I mean, come on, Rider of the Timeless Domain, that is just an entertaining name for a weapon. Now, as for how you do get a hold of them, well, it's pretty simple. As well, you just go over to a chemistry station and build it. So let's go into craft, head down to utility, and that is where you'll find the Element Manipulator Cannon. Now, it is a pretty later game weapon, considering you will need rank 4 in Gun Nut and rank 4 in Science. But other than that, it'll just use adhesive, aluminum circuitry, fiber optics, glass, plastic, screws, and steel to create your beautiful, beautiful gun. Ah, it's wonderful. So let's take a look at all the great modifications for this thing. And they are wonderful. Now, I accidentally clicked over to the Timeless Domain one because I love that one. But yeah, let's go to the weapon workbench and take a look at our standard version here and start in the barrel category, where we have a number of different barrels that'll do everything from have it make it cost less action points to use in VATS, to better weight and stability, to, range and stability, etc., with fun names like Cubic Prism Barrel or Short Ellipse Prism Barrel, etc., etc. And these names you will see over and over. Pretty much all the parts in this mod are called like Short Ellipse Prism Barrel, or Short Ellipse Prism Stock, or Short Ellipse Prism. I think there's a reflex sight for that one. But yes, it's the same names over and over, which, considering the entertaining names in this mod, I was kind of hoping for a bit more originality in those, but you know what, still, it's fun, and a good different amount of variation here for you to play with. Now, in stocks, we're back to those names, the Cube Prism Stock, Ellipse Prism Stock, etc., and each stock changing both the aesthetics of the gun as well as stability, the action point cost, which definitely seems to be the big part of the full Cubic Prism system, and, just a nice little selection of different stocks to use. Now, next, we'll have the sights category, where we have 3 different reflex sights: the Cubic Prism Reflex, the Ellipse Prism Reflex, and the Hexagonal Prism Reflex. We then have an Ellipse Prism Night Vision 6X, a Cubic Prism 4X, and a Hexagonal Prism 10X scope for you to use, so a good little selection of sights here for your convenience. Then in colors, I really love the names of all of these. This, in my mind, is where the names on this really shine, is in the colors. We have the Ender Wolf, the Niveus Leviathan. How do you pronounce that? I don't know. Niveus? Niveus? I'm gonna have to look that up later. Plasma Naga, the Quantum Cat, the Standard, the Unchained Dragon. My personal favorite, the Vigilant Otter, because that's, I don't know why, just something about the Vigilant Otter amuses me. And then finally, the Wavelength Monkey. And yeah, just all fun, good color changes for your weapon to give it a little bit of extra pizzazz. Now then, finally, we have the elemental damages you can do, and they're glorious. We'll start up here at the top with the acid damage, which is an acid spray using flamer fuel, which I think is appropriate because basically it acts like a flamethrower. It just does acid damage. We then have the arcane element, which is an arcane bolt using energy cells, and it will automatically track your target. It's basically a magic missile. The chaos element, which actually will apply the frenzy effect to your enemies, has an area of effect damage to it. We'll also use the flamer fuel. We then have the dark element, my personal favorite, which deals dark damage, which is just basic energy damage, as you can see from the output there, using cryo cells, and it does a lot. But here's the thing about it. It arcs. It's not a straight bullet shot. It's kind of like a weird blob of goo that comes out. So if you're shooting manually, you actually kind of have to angle the gun upwards to arc it at your targets. It's odd. It's damaging, but it's odd. We then have the electricity element, which is an electrical bolt that has a chain lightning attack using fusion cells. We then have the fire element, which is a fireball that'll do area of effect damage when it does hit. It's basically a small explosive. We then have the ice element, which is the standard, and it's effectively the cryolator. We then have the light element, which is a light beam that'll do a small amount of damage, but, you know, it's there if you want to do light damage. We then have the love and hate element, which is interesting. It doesn't do much damage, but it will heal any allies that it hits and damage any enemies that it hits. So again, though, with the low amount of damage, but if you have a mod that adds in multiple companions, you know, it might be nice to have that ability to heal them all quite quickly with a few shots. We then have the Void element, which deals very good damage, area of effect, and does use the cryo rounds. We then have the Water element, which is a water jet that, again, area of effect, dealing physical and energy damage. And finally, the Wind element, which I actually think is the least damaging of all of them, but that's not the point. This one is for staggering, a very high chance to cause the staggering effect, and it's a scatter shot of basically wind damage, and it's for knocking people down and then shooting them some other way, and I don't know, it amuses me. So that is the different elemental damages we have here. Now, most of them, I'll admit, are kind of meh, like acid damage, the arcane damage. It's pretty bog standard elemental damage in the game, just used in interesting ways. The ones that really interested me are the love and hate, because it heals your allies. The void one's pretty cool. The the dark element is still my favorite. It's wonderful. And yeah, just a nice little selection of things to play around with. Now, we're not going to look at all of them here today because, well, that'd take too long, and I don't have that kind of time. So we're just going to have a look at 4 of them. The standard ice. So let's pull that out and fire. Look at that recoil. That put us all the way up to the sky there. But it works. Now, no real iron sights to speak of with this thing, but it's a cryolator. You run up to people and you freeze them. That's kind of the point. Now then, let's take a look at the Energy Tempest. Now this one is boom. Nice. So this, of course, is the wind damage one, doing the scatter shot of wind to knock people down. And if we actually aim further down range, you can see the multiple sort of wind hits. There we go. Looks like 4 of them or so. But overall, very cool and will knock people down, and that's wonderful. Now we then have, let's actually look at the Vortex Spring first. This is the acid spray. It's basically an acid flamethrower. There we go. There we go. Not as much recoil as the cryolator, But, you know what? It'll melt people good with that acid damage, and that's always fun. And now, the Rider of the Timeless Domain. God, I just love that name, and I didn't click it. There we go. And, yeah, nice scope on this thing, which I didn't... I put the scope on before I realized that it's a lobbing weapon. So if we fire, notice the weird gunk that comes out of the weapon and just kind of goes towards the ground. Yeah, if we aim up, watch the water. Ooh, there it goes. It actually landed right about there. So let's try that again. Fire, and there it hit. So yeah, it's a strange weapon to work with because you do have to lob it. But let's go test it out on our usual targets over here. So let's say hi to Randy and Will. I'm gonna try and lob one of these dark bolts of energy at Will, I think, first. Let's see how it works in VATS. I actually haven't used this one in VATS yet. Let's fire a couple just to be sure. Yeah, not a whole lot of VATS points, as you can see there. Fire! Oh yeah, Will's dead. It lobbed it very nicely with the VATS. Excellent. That worked very well. I really didn't need to use all of those now, did I? So let's then use the Energy Tempest to knock Randy down up here. And then we'll use another one to actually finish him off. Hi, Randy! Oh, you staggered him. It's staggering, but he's not knocking him down because he's a rad stag. It is actually dealing some damage, though. All right, let's... Oh god, the other ones I have are all close range! To the vortex spring, come back, Randy! Why am I always so awful at this? Hi, Randy! Ooh, now I gotta melt the mole rats too. Hello, where'd you guys go? You over here? Oh, there you are! There we are. Time for you to just get melted. Who just bit me? How dare you? Alright, so yeah, that is the Elemental Manipulator Cannon with my usual finesse at hitting my targets. Oh, I'm an awful shot. But yes, this is a really fun mod. It's just great having all these weird, wacky elemental damage types to play with, as it just adds a little bit of, well, like I said, wackiness to the game, and that is fun in Fallout. It's one of the things I like about it. It doesn't take itself quite too seriously. So if you'd like to have a look at this mod for yourself, which I would definitely recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that, my friends, is going to be it for this episode today. I hope you all have enjoyed and that you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one!